G'day everybody, it's Taggy here. Hope you're doing really well. Welcome back to this episode where I'll be doing a speed build for my first park, my botanic gardens, and I've always wanted to do a Japanese koi pond, so yeah, I'll be showing you some of the little animatronics there, but just the settings and how I go about building something like this. So I haven't done many speed builds before, so I hope you like it. We'll see how it goes, but I hope to do a few more in the series, so if you think that's a good idea, let me know in the comments. But I'll be sharing more tips and tricks too soon. I've got a whole range of things on landscaping which I think will tie in nicely with this series, so thank you for joining me so far, and yeah, we'll get straight into it and start building this beautiful park. So using the invisible path method, I really wanted to create a multi-layered invisible path and then actually have it over the entire water surface of this koi pond, and this was really tricky to do, and using some of the techniques I've shown before, what I did is created this sort of blank canvas, I guess, for where I wanted the water to go. And as you can see here, I can't really rub out that entire invisible path in one go. So what I had to do is basically select the path that I wanted to delete, then undo it, rub out the terrain, and then redo it, and then delete the path again and undo it and redo it. And after a few times, you can slowly get that path completely invisible, even though it's really quite large. And from there, I just wanted to sort of make a multi-layered landscape for my garden, and having obviously a path at the top and a little bit of a trickly waterfall on the right there coming down into the lower pond. But the whole idea here was, by having that large surface area for the pond, you can then effectively hide those stumps and not notice them at all, because I'm going to use the barrier gateways that I showed off in one of the other videos for curbless paths, and use that principle in combination with the invisible path. And then what that allows us to do is have guests walking across the water on a predetermined pathway. So I can have some stepping stones, a nice little cliff cascade where they get up. So here you go, I can see putting in these little barriers to sort of guide where I want the guests to walk over the water. And yeah, this was quite effective, as you can see them scooting across. You can only bury those barriers, I think it's a couple of meters deep before they stop working. So quite a few times in the video, I think I accidentally bury them a bit deeper and then the guests start walking all over the place. And yeah, things don't work quite well. But as you can see, yeah, you push them across, get enough spacing, and I just throw a little shop up there to get the people flowing through. But yeah, this was to formulate, I guess, the sort of basis of stepping stones on the bottom pond, and then a little bit of a walkway wooden bridge at the top. I originally wanted to do like a, one of those red archway bridges, but I completely forgot about it until much later. So I do end up putting a little bridge in at the end, but yeah, you'll get to see how that flows. So yeah, just here, it's just about tweaking, getting the guest flow working just right. And yeah, obviously it would be nice if we could just paint on an invisible path, but with a bit of trial and error, you can certainly get there. And because we're manipulating terrain anyway, it's pretty much a permanent fixture. You can't, make this into a blueprint, unfortunately. But yeah, then it's just about, laying on the rocks to sort of cover those gates. And yeah, I started with these bright white rocks, the Mediterranean rocks. They did a good job, but by the end of it, I ended up covering it with trees and bushes and all sorts of things. So then it's just about, okay, now I need these guests to be able to walk on something physical and still give the illusion of a pathway. And I found these blocks sort of like consistent size. And I think some of the, I guess, Japanese gardens that I've looked at, they often have some uniform shapes or really nice round stones. But I went with these. First I did this sort of thin row here, and yeah, it wasn't really quite what I wanted. So I ended up going for a bit bigger stone, singular stone, which I think looked quite nice in the end. Yeah, you can be the judge for yourself. Well, from there, it was just carrying up to the top pond using these nice stones as steps, And it looks kind of weird at the moment, like a bit of a snake, but what happens is we start to bury all of this in rocks and creating a nice sort of cliffscape. And by the end of it, I have little wooden planks and a little bridge, and it all blends in really nicely. And again, this is the whole point of going to the trouble of creating this giant invisible path, because those wooden stumps certainly get in the way, and I didn't want to see them at all. And by using the barrier method, I can completely hide it, which is great. So yeah, just continuing on, putting in rocks, landscaping. I think that's part of the beauty of this game, is it's sort of like a bit of a a mental retreat for me. I do love gardening. I have a bit of a yard and a pond actually out the back. I'd love to have koi in there, but where I live in Australia, it's actually illegal to have koi here because they have introduced carp, which is basically European carp, into the river systems here in the Murray River. And that's been a huge problem. They stir up all the dirt in the ground and compete for the other fish, the native fish, a big Murray cod and things like that. So it's a shame we can't keep koi here. I've seen some beautiful koi ponds up in Sydney and a few other areas in Australia, and always pleasantly surprised just to see how big they actually get as well. And so when you see the koi I make in a minute, that's why they're pretty large, but I couldn't actually get them any smaller just because of the limitation of the game. So back to the ponds here, you can see, here are the barriers being put in on the top. And what I wanted is a bit of a wooden jetty that goes through the waterway, and just to make it a little bit more immersive again, just to help the guests, not always, follow these concrete paths that we have in the game. I think that, just adds another little bit of interest. But this goes through quite a few different iterations of design as I was going. And again, it's just fun. You just get to play and try it. After making so many tutorial videos, I haven't really just sat down and enjoyed playing the game. So I do hope to, continue on this park and actually make it into a bit of a, natural garden, botanic garden or something that we can share. So at that point, I wanted to, break it up a little bit, not just have rocks everywhere, and put in some sleepers and stones into the pathway, and ended up just going with a few little wooden steps. And I think that just sort of helped break it up a little bit more as well. By the time it's all covered in bushes and things, you barely notice those stones as they go in anyway. So it'll come together really well. Now, I'm not really an expert in terms of what makes a Japanese garden, but I have got access to Google, like all of us, and just seeing some of the great footage of different gardens that are out there. They are very beautiful, immaculately kept. Actually, I think I mentioned went to Tasmania and we looked in the botanic gardens there. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. It's a free activity. You can go and check out these amazing gardens that have all been landscaped, and just all the beautiful trees and bushes that are just so well kept. And they had a beautiful Japanese garden, there in Hobart, in Tasmania. So if you ever get down that way, definitely check it out. I think most cities have a pretty good botanic garden, full of all sorts of different varieties and different, landscaping ideas. And that's what I like about visiting something like that, is you have the different cultures all coming together in these sort of pockets of areas. And I think that's something, it's magical when you walk through a garden like that. You don't know what's going to happen around the next turn. So here's the little waterfall. I basically just popped in those flowing elements, and I usually find that's easier to put them in first and then cover it up with the rocks and things, and it sort of flows out. It wasn't going to be a huge focal point, and I just wanted it there on the side. So I could have probably made it flow out of the top pond physically, but just elected to make it hidden because it was too much of a hassle at this point to try and manipulate the paths with the invisible piece. As soon as you move them or move terrain near them, it all fills in again. And it is possible to get it back out, but it's very fiddly. And if you've got all your scenery in the way, then you're going to move that out in one big heap. And very problematic. So best to avoid it. I think with any garden, the tree placement is super important, and it's about creating a balance between, you know, shaded areas and light areas, and not overdoing it, but also, yeah, placing them in the way that's going to really complement the look and feel. Now here's the star of the show, the koi. So I'm going to probably do a singular video, just a short one, on how I made these in detail, but I'll give you the quick wrap up. It's just basically tiny little scaled support elements. They go down to 10%, and I modeled a little fish, and then yeah, broke it into 3 pieces, and they rotate on a bunch of little moving platforms. Getting that motion fluid was extremely difficult, but got there in the end. But I'll take us through that on another vid, and you can have a look. One of the nice things about a path or a little part like this is you want it to loop around, and that's why I created that outside path. So here's the fish, and you can see all the little parts it's made out of. And what's nice about that is when it's under the water, you can't really see the square elements of it, but you can go ahead and color it. And so, yeah, koi come in all these amazing different colors, generally white and orange, and sometimes you get these sort of darker browny, goldy color ones. I've got goldfish in my pond, and yeah, a lot of them start out that browny gold color and they end up going orange, or they go back to almost a black, dark black. And I think that's part of the genetics of goldfish and koi as well, is that there's a variety of different yeah, colors that can come in and out, and they can be bred for all sorts of different speckledy colors and blotches and all sorts of things. That's what's really nice about it, is no 2 fish are exactly the same. They look really cool. And with this model, you can, of course, yeah, just edit it and change a few colors, and you get a bit of variety. So I've got that sort of browny gold one there, moving around with the orange and white ones. And yeah, I also, in a minute, put in some other fish that just sort of bob about rather than swimming in circles, and that really looks good, like they're hiding under a bridge. So I think that adds a lot to it as well. So yeah, just finishing this out with the bushes, and not too many flowers or anything. I just left that in the lilies, and I think that's part of a Japanese garden feature. It's blossoms and deciduous or trees that go with those bright reds and things. And a little water feature as well. I didn't want that to be dominating in any way, so just a little flow off a little tapered pillar here. I actually ended up putting this in the top pond because it just wasn't really doing it for me down here. And yeah, just sort of like gave it this element of flow over the top of the pillar, and I think it looks kind of nice. I think a lot of the fountains you do see in Japanese ponds are very subtle. They're more waterfalls. None of these big concrete things that you see in a more traditional park. But yeah, each to their own, I guess. So you can see some of the other fish there bobbing around under the lily pads. So I had placed them on off camera, but basically it's the same concept, but they're not rotating on a large motion panel. They're just basically got 2 spinning on top of each other, which creates a slight bob, and they bob in and out. But yeah, here's the park. It's starting to look nice. But of course, I thought it needed a bit of structure. And one of these gates, I think it's, oh, what is it called? I've got it here somewhere. I wrote it down. Yeah, a torii. Torii? Yeah, not sure how you pronounce it. Hopefully I got that right. But often they're painted in that sort of bright red color. And I think they're symbolic to this sort of gateway to a sacred Shinto shrine or something like that. It's often the pathway between the human world and the sort of sacred area in a park. And so yeah, this was a very rough and ready little addition to the pond, but it just gave it a bit of I guess a visual cue when we have a look at the the overall landscape. If you don't have something, I guess, more rigid or structural, your eye's not really drawn to it. So this little gate, I just thought, yeah, it was the perfect place at the top of the pond, sort of between the rockwork and then into the wooden area. And yeah, up there, it looks like that's where you're supposed to go. Well, once I had that, bright red, beautiful gate at the top of the pathway, I thought I needed to tie that in on the bottom as well. So although I wanted to do an archway bridge and completely forgot about it when I was laying out that invisible path, I went ahead and just sort of did a curved bridge in the similar style. And often the bridges have white planks or unstained wood, and again red posts. and so just went for a bit of a curved design, made it up as I went. It sort of works, I think, and ties in quite nicely, connecting the red to the lower pond to the top pond. And yeah, it all came together really well. A lot of the tops of those posts have a round ball, I noticed in some of the research I did. And yeah, again, I thought, oh, actually, this is a good opportunity to do some lighting in the game. And yeah, so putting these lamps in the normal place, I guess, where those turned pieces of wood go, the lamps came together quite nicely as well. And then replicating, I guess, a red post and a lamp up the pathway sort of gave us something to do in the nighttime, leading you up the path. But yeah, the bridge there, I think, combined with the little gate, just, yeah, really made it come together in such a good way. So then I just fill it out with a few more stones and put in a bench and filled around the sideway pathway with a whole heap of bamboo to create that sort of enclosed sort of garden. Yeah, and it was all coming together, looking really good. So I think from there I was just a fine tuning, a few more bushes, a few more little wooden steps just to bring it all together. And you could probably spend hours just fine tuning at this point. There's a little waterfall, the fountain that I put back at the top, made it black. And yeah, I found I was accidentally moving the barriers, and so peeps were walking off the bridge and having issues. So it was a lot of fine tuning once I had finished it all, and just making sure things make sense. A little bin, just didn't want that very overstated, so shoved it in the corner. But yeah, just going through the different times of day and trying the lights. Gee, again, the game is so beautiful. I just, from a perspective of just making a really nice park, just the scenery and some of the things I've seen from others on the forums and on Reddit and in Bro Nation. Some of you guys are just incredible builders, and you've got some amazing stuff coming together. So yeah, it's just, I think the game and the way it's heading with the new scenery packs coming out and things like that, it's just going to get better from here. And yeah, whether you have a style where you just want to create something organic and have a sort of a slow pace like this sort of video, or you want to do fast, high speed, dark rides, or whatever it is, I think it's just got something for everyone. And that's why I really love Planet Coaster 2. Okay, well, there you go. There's my little Japanese koi pond. Hope you liked it. Let's do a little walk around. I'll just show you the key things. So yeah, you got the path up here, and that takes you the top way. You get a nice view of the bamboo and different trees. Or you can come in here and yeah, straight to the koi pond. And isn't that pretty? Oh, the trees look so good. I might just let's change the daylight here. I might go for, I think, yeah, 11 o'clock looks good. And so yeah, jump back in. But yeah, again, the daytime obviously makes a massive difference too. So there's a little gate at the top, and yeah, we walk through and let's have a look at the koi. So yeah, you can see them. We've got a few there hovering over, just sort of hanging out in the weeds and circling around. So just two main animation types. One is going around on a very slow rotator. So yeah, I guess I'm bringing together a heap of my different techniques. So if you check out the video on how to create a really slow rotator, you can get a much slower rotation. And yeah, the fish themselves are just, yeah, as I said, cut up into 3 pieces. But they, yeah, I think even though they're made up of little jaggedy bits under the water, you can't really tell. So yeah, they look really nice. Yeah, put another little guy down there, he's hiding. Here's a little bridge. Yeah, it's come together, and just the trees and the glorious sunlight coming through. A little waterfall, just to give you a hint of water flowing down up the steps and into this nice shaded area. If you ever go on hikes, and yeah, you can almost feel the cool coming off the rocks. I just love that. After a hot walk, you can sort of lean against a rock and cool down a bit. And then up in the top pond, so yeah, this is a bit more of a weedy one, like full of these weeds. I don't know what that plant's called, but yeah, it makes a fantastic sort of weed that's growing in the water. And yeah, here comes another fish, he's swimming through. And I think it just, yeah, sort of blends well. You can't really see it clipping because it's under the water. So does a nice job. But yeah, off he goes. So I got, I think, a couple more fishy here. There's that little gate, and yeah, really lovely view from the top looking down. Just the water in this game, amazing, and the trees. And I probably should play Planet Zoo, shouldn't I? I haven't never actually played Planet Zoo, but yeah, I get strong vibes from that game. That's what you do, make beautiful scenery like this. So yeah, and at the top, ignore those little shops. That's just to get people coming up here. But yeah, isn't that cool? So you got that sort of walkway and then this long descent back down to the little park. So that's the start of my yeah, botanic garden, I guess. I probably should put some rides and things in. I'm not sure how to integrate it, but without ruining the vibe. But yeah, it's been a blast creating this. I just love this game. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and thanks for joining me on this one. If you want to see some more animatronic videos and how we create that sort of thing, let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next. But yeah, I've got a few more tips and tricks coming in landscaping and paths. Hey, that's what I do, paths. Yeah, well, thanks everyone, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.